Africa's growth and prosperity will be driven as much by its corporations as its women, farmers, and entrepreneurs. Over the last 40 years, the United States African Development Foundation, USADF, has collaborated with Africans to co-create a future that is community-driven and includes underserved populations and people. USADF drives change in agriculture and food security, off-grid renewable energy, and entrepreneurship and job creation using an on-the-ground, bottom-up approach that infuses capital while developing the capacity of Africans to manage those funds appropriately. Using 100% African staff, known as country program coordinators and local implementing partners in Africa, USADF finds, funds, and supports African-designed and African-delivered solutions. USADF provides grant capital, capacity-building assistance, and convening opportunities to develop, grow, and scale African enterprises and entrepreneurs that are improving lives and livelihoods. This is the story of how USADF creates pathways to prosperity for underserved communities in Africa that are at a risk of being left behind in Africa's overall growth story. Where others see challenges, USADF develops solutions for progress in Africa.
We're the only U.S. government agency that is directly supporting African organizations, African enterprises. Our average grant size is $130,000 and goes to a community group of about 750 people. So you think about $100,000 investment, grant investment, into a community enterprise, an agricultural cooperative of about 750 people. We want that grant investment to create at least 3 times revenue. And so I don't want it to look at assistance for assistance sake. I want us to think about there is a return on investment.
12 million young Africans enter the workforce every year. To meet this employment need, the International Monetary Fund's Regional Economic Outlook report on Sub-Saharan Africa in 2019 concluded that Africa needs to create 20 million jobs every year through 2030. This number is twice as large as what the region has produced annually from 2017 to 2019. That is why over the past 5 years, from 2016 to 2020, USADF has awarded over $12 million in grants to over 366 enterprises. The funding has supported job training and placement programs and social entrepreneurs starting and scaling their enterprises to create employment opportunities for others. These young entrepreneurs lead the way in applying business solutions to social problems so youth and women have better chances to secure employment. For example, USADF Yali grantee Nazreen Ali was raised in Mombasa, a town along Kenya's coast. Growing up, she observed her mother and noticed the limitations entrepreneurs face in growing their businesses.
In 2018, during market needs analysis, where I was very curious to understand what's keeping many female-owned businesses from reaching their full potential, I learned that it boils down to 3 things: lack of capital, limited access to knowledge and guidance on how to start and run a business, and limited access to markets for their products. And that is how Africapa was born, as an extension of the micro-lending business, but now to support the women that we're already serving to find markets for the products that they had.
With a dream to equip more women with skills to run their own businesses, Nazreen kept pushing. Thanks to USADF and City Foundation, Nazreen, one of the winners of the USADF City Foundation grant, is connecting with talented artisans and equipping them with unique materials and training to create beautiful, unique jewelry and African handicrafts.
The grants really couldn't have come at a better time because it turbocharged our bottom line and pushed us to actually get started on our activities, including developing our training curriculums, reaching out to the target beneficiaries, and putting together a team to develop our digital platform, which is a very core component of the business.
In just a year, Nasreen's company, Afrikapu, has trained over 200 women artisans. Afrikapu has also built an e-commerce platform to market products created by these artisans. Their products are already selling in markets as far as America and Europe, as well as around the continent. However, as a rapidly growing continent, the need to create more job opportunities and increase job placement for the large number of unemployed women and youth is a constant worry. In Somalia, for instance, around 70% of the youth are unemployed. Ahmed Bashe is working with the support of USADF to meet the skills gap by providing vocational training for Somali youth between the ages of 15 and 35.
All this time in these past 8 years, one thing I've noticed is that you would assume USADF being a government institution would be very inflexible, but I actually find that not to be the case. They are very dynamic. For example, in terms of the youth, the skills creation, they're very bottom to top approach, right? They allow us to suggest what areas we think really work best in the country itself. And I think that's a fundamental reason why they're successful. There are a lot of NGOs and other institutions that try to come up with schemes, if I can say, that try to build up employment. But I think the number of trainees that have successfully started businesses through USADF funding, I think is one of the highest in this region.
With unemployment in many sub-Saharan countries hovering near 30%, USADF prioritizing creating good, sustainable jobs by investing directly in enterprises and social entrepreneurs focused on changing this reality in their communities.
So we know that, and because we've had this 40-year or so history, we've really honed in on some very basic things to make sure that, in fact, our programs are sustainable, and the vast majority of them are, and we keep track of that. So, for example, first thing we do is we go in and we don't just give them the full grant. We go in and try to make sure we build their local capacity. So we give them a smaller amount of money for a short period of time to do the business planning, to really understand the groups and what their needs are, to really to know that they have the wherewithal to develop a sustainable enterprise. And only once we've reached that point, and that can take a year or so, then we'll give them a larger sum of funds, usually provided over a multi-year period, say a 3 to 5 year period. So they're not getting it in one lump sum. And we're with them all along the way. The other piece that's so important, besides this planning process and understanding that they have the capacity, is to make sure that they have a local partner who's there, who can mentor them, who can monitor them, who can work with them through this whole process.
As a way of building pathways to self-reliance and prosperity, grants are just one of the components of USADF's assistance. USADF is using a pan-African network of local implementing partners to build capacity and provide assistance. The complementary combination of funding and local African-based capacity building support contribute to sustainable efforts to improve lives and livelihoods.
I've seen it from the last close to 17 years work very well in the communities, achieve a lot of impact because one, when I go out in the community, I involve them in making their decisions. I don't give them the answers. They tell me their stories. They clarify the issues. They give me the ideas. They define their problems. My work there is a facilitator. They also have set they have set their own goals and objectives. We do not define for them what they need to do. We know that these communities are rich in knowledge. You cannot be equal to them in terms of their cultures. They know what they need to. They know where the resources are. They know the boundaries. Me as a practitioner, I cannot come in and just force information on them.
Don't get fixated on the idea.
USADF's participatory development approach is effective in furthering the social and economic development objectives of entrepreneurs, cooperatives, and associations.
Your money. So I think those are models that you will think about.
The majority of USADF's grant investments are focused on supporting agricultural-led economic growth for smallholder farmers who are the backbone of African economies. In Uganda, coffee accounts for 20 to 30% of our foreign exchange earnings each year, and more than 3.5 million families work in coffee-related activities. The bulk of the country's coffee is produced by smallholder farmers working plots of less than 2.5 acres. Uganda's USADF grantee, Ankole Coffee Producers Cooperative Union Limited, provides a system for smallholder coffee farmers to maximize their profits and productivity. Ankole, a farmer-owned export coffee cooperative union with 8,200 members, stretches across the mountains of southwestern Uganda.
Cup taste will be very, very nice. First of all, the ADF grant gave us the first moisture meter, gave the union a starting point. We started by exporting 1 container. When we received that grant, we went 22 containers that very year.
Today, Ankole Coffee is selling in the excess of 200 containers of coffee annually, buying the precious produce for more than 10,000 farmers, and the benefits are far-reaching.
Kuna mazire kuzo mu cooperative society okubiri ngwe n'ibindi bakatandika kugenda gye ekyo kubanza kyabyona bakagumana batuhereza nk'entundu barizo kwanikaho kahuba zo kushombesa kasasiro ebisomeno bwo kwishara mwene byona bakabaje. My first born ari musene ya kashatu natware mutwaro nshanje burtamu tinkuje basize nyonyenka ntine mwana ogo gukorera kandi nanyenyenka ubu nabe ninza kushwerwa nkabandi yarengo rwa diploma konka hati mbasize kushoma bachelor's degrees zanje kurwa umwani nane kindi tubasize kugura mweje motoka umwana gwitu kutukumara kwanika tugutaha motoka tugutwara society
Complex regions of Africa. In Niger, USADF grantee Makani Union is ending hunger and cultivating hope. With USADF support, Makani, a rice-producing group in Gaya, Niger, modernized its rice processing facility and increased productivity and income for the group members.
Ite inyomfu lende mil kanzora inir fay kakakirga kini fay kakirga no inda ADF ya moka ka gwal ADF bini irma akani gumo zamguna ADF akan dirse machine ana machine da irse ana fuki na kanga machine odan akan dirse moto akan dirse pano solaire wo ana hayo erse de se zaste irse akan dirse moduni akandirse angara dinno inno alfarese iga kandirse mo ikandirse moduni.
On average, up to 60 to 70% of the off-grid population in Africa works in agriculture. So, any attempt to increase livelihoods through energy access activities must be linked to farming, in particular, that involving female farmers. Energy experts on the continent, backed by USADF support, have been trying to find solutions to energy challenges on the continent.
let's face it, energy poverty is not gender neutral. And since women are the primary consumers and users of energy products, it is not surprising that men and women are affected differently by energy poverty because of the different roles that they perform in their homes. To illustrate, when a family needs to cook, the burden falls on the women to get wood to be used as fuel. But when you have clean energy solutions like efficient cook stoves, it will result in significant social and economic benefits for the family. So cooking time is reduced by at least 50%. Fuel efficiency is increased by at least 30%. There's also a very significant reduction in harmful emissions and therefore leading to improved health.
In Africa, 640 million people have no access to electricity. Nigeria, the most populous country on the continent, has struggled to keep up with its growing energy demands for the last 50 years. In 2014, Chuks Umezulora started Oxano Solar. The goal was simple: import solar panels from abroad to satisfy the gap in Nigeria's energy sector. 4 years later, Chuks spotted a big opportunity and started an assembly plant, becoming the first privately owned solar assembly plant in Nigeria.
It was in 2018, we heard about USADF and OLON, the Nigeria Off-Grid Energy Distribution Challenge, in one of OLON's publications, and they encouraged us to go ahead and apply for it. Because initially it was designed mostly for companies in the mini-grid distance space, but it also go ahead and apply for it. And we are one of the 10 finalists for that year. Because before then, our cell tapping and staging parts section was being done manually. And that limits, the number of panels we can make in a day. Those days we can make max 15, at most 20 panels a day. So, but, with the financial support and the grant that we received from USADF, we're able to, acquire the auto stringing machine. And with that, we now automate that process. I mean, that machine alone can do up to 100 and 150 panels a day. So it took away that constraints that we had in the time it takes to tap and string cells. It also made it more efficient. So our finished products are now, cleaner and they are better.
Now, Oxano is producing 5 times more products than it was when it started. The organization has also given back by training over 800 youth in solar installation and maintenance. Like Chuks in Nigeria, Washikala Malango in the Democratic Republic of Congo is helping light up his home country by offering much-needed energy solutions.
ALDE Group is a social enterprise that is working in the renewable energy sector in the DRC. We started in 2013. So we started very small, conducting a pilot, distributing some dozens of solar lights in our village called Barak in South Kivu province in eastern Congo. And the reason why we started in that village is because first of all, it's a completely off-grid village, and we are from there. So we were born and raised in that area. And so when we got the idea of starting a solar company, we decided to go back to our own village and work with rural poor households there. The problem that households in our village were facing was the same problem that other households across the DRC were also facing. So we decided to scale up the project so quickly, and we have been able to reach a lot of people now, and we are working in a lot of provinces now in the DRC. So it was a 25,000 grant. And yeah, the grant did help us a lot in terms of scaling our activities, especially in other parts of the DRC, because as I said, we started in Eastern Congo. We had already opened a few outlets here in Goma, Bukavu, and Uvira and Baraka, but with the grant we used it to scale across the DRC to open more sales outlets. Yeah. So it was very important for us in terms of reaching more customers and also in terms of building the team.
USADF's result-based development model maximizes taxpayer dollars by combining funds from African host countries, corporate social investments, and U.S. government interagency funding sources to achieve sustainable economic growth opportunities for grassroots, small, and growing enterprises in underserved regions across Africa. This leveraging funds approach allowed USADF to expand its fiscal year 2020 operating budget by 12% over the fiscal year 2019 operating budget from $43 million to $48.4 million. Since 1998, USADF has been doing co-founding partnerships with African governments. $34 million has been received from African governments in that period, and a commitment of $40 million by 2025, demonstrating a continued interest in partnering in support of peace and prosperity. For every society in the modern world to thrive, the socio-economic well-being of its population must be prioritized. USADF has continued to empower a growing population and increased opportunities that help equip the continent's entrepreneurs and cooperatives for future challenges.